Hi everyone, welcome to Community Impact. I'm Reena Augustine and it is a pleasure to interview Mr. Stephen Dale, who is a speaker, trainer, mentor, published author. He has motivated, educated and empowered audiences and individuals since 2002. Stephen has faced extreme obstacles in his life and business and understands how difficult it is to make big changes. His experiences have helped him develop practical programs in resilience, mental health, goal achievement, critical thinking, and leadership. He has worked with over 100,000 business professionals, community leaders, sales teams, youth groups, and elite sporting clubs throughout Australia. Since 2002, Stephen's keynotes and workshops have been engaged by 500 plus corporations, mainly including banking, finance, insurance, law, construction, health, and medical. University lecturer at James Cook University, MBA Leadership and Critical Thinking, University of Queensland, Leadership in Therapy, Federal, State and Local Government plus Queensland Police Association, 80,000 managers, sales teams, franchisors and entrepreneurs, 600 plus elite sports and fitness clubs, high schools and community mental health clinics, ambassador for the Hopkins Center, Research in Resilience and Rehabilitation. It is indeed a pleasure to welcome Stephen here, right in the studio.
Thank you, Reena.
Thank you for your time, Stephen.
My pleasure.
Your story is amazing, so motivating. Whatever you've gone through, falling off a cliff, 30 feet.
Onto rocks.
Onto the rocks. How did you survive, Stephen?
Well, first of all, I survived because I was surrounded by two guys, two young men who did not know what to do, but were willing to do something. And these two fine young gentlemen gave me CPR for about 45 minutes through 5 heart attacks. And each heart attack would be between 2 and 3 or even longer than 3 minutes. But to be with two guys who would not give in was, well, it would be a twist of fate for some people, but for me, it's just an absolute blessing.
They were your friends?
I'd known them for about 2 weeks.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, maybe if they knew me any better than that, they might not have worked so hard. But thankfully, these two guys, they value human life. And as I just said, they worked so hard until the ambulance arrived, the helicopter, and when the helicopter came, it couldn't land on the beach because it was on a very narrow inlet.
Yeah. And
when it could get down there, and it took quite an extraordinary pilot to be able to get the helicopter onto the beach, the AMBO suggested that they just stop, that I'm only alive because they're keeping me alive.
Oh. So
they had another choice, which is another good lesson why you should always hang around with the right people. Because their attitude to the ambulance man was, if that's your attitude, then go. We didn't work this hard for this long with this guy for you to tell us to stop. So I'm only alive because of those two young men.
Wow.
And their desire to keep me alive.
So it is so true. You have to be surrounded by the people who are right for you.
That's right.
Who keep you alive.
Exactly. And how many people, and I can tell you another little part of that story, 6 people turned up because of the noise and everything that was happening, with David and Rob yelling to these people to stop, to do something, to call somebody. And I was a big fella back then. So 45 minutes on rocks with the tide coming in, very difficult situation considering I'd really injured myself. There's a lot of blood. Being asked, look, could someone step in front of us? Could someone help out? These other people just standing there shaking their head saying, no, we don't want to get involved.
Oh.
So I'm sure that if you ask these people at some previous time, what would you do if you're in a situation where somebody really needed your help? Everyone would say, oh, I'd help. I'd do something.
Yeah.
So it's one thing to say that you would do it.
Yeah.
It's another thing to actually do it. And I was just very fortunate to be with two young men who meant what they said. They were going to keep working. So to find people like that and to hang around with them and to have their influence on you is a very powerful thing.
Wow. So you were bullied in school?
Yes. Now, you might be able to tell from your angle, but my ears are quite large. And if I give you all a good survey, but because I had big ears and I was a very slow developer, which means that I looked 2 or 3 years younger than people in my age, I was a very easy target. And because I come from such a loving family and had never faced anything like bullying, I believe that everybody loved everybody, everybody forgave everybody. But finding out the hard truth about people who just saw me as an easy target, I took it probably a lot harder than I could have. And thankfully back then, there wasn't the issues that there are today. I mean, there was no social media. Once you left school, it stopped.
Yeah.
It was just the fear of going back to school because the same thing would happen again.
That's right, yes.
And so that got into my head and changed who I was as a person.
So, but that led you to do into the wrong paths. So how did you get over it?
Well, one of the things that I learned at high school is that if you did really crazy, stupid things, they didn't bully you. They laughed at you. They didn't hit you. They didn't pick on you because you were doing some stupid things. So I learned that, well, as long as I keep doing stupid things, I'll be fine. And as I kept doing stupid things, I grew. I grew up and I grew out. So all of a sudden, no one wanted to pick on me. And I was thinking, well, the secret is that I just did crazy, stupid things. So I'll keep doing that. I'll keep doing crazy, stupid things. And no one will pick on me. And if they do pick on me, by this time, I'm big. So I'll hit back.
Yeah.
So in actual fact, you actually become a bully in your attempt to escape bullies. And even when there was no one left to bully, the only person left was me. So I bullied me. And I treated myself very badly and got involved in a lot of addictions and a lot of bad behaviour. And all of those things led to me climbing the cliff and falling off it. Because I climbed the cliff because I thought that I'll do this crazy, stupid thing because I'm not good enough. So I've got to do something to make you like me.
Yes.
And I'd learned that if I did crazy, stupid, dangerous things, people liked me.
Because the attention is on this.
That's right. They're watching me. They're rooting for me. They're clapping me.
Yeah.
They're going, wow, you're amazing.
Attention.
Now, that compared to being bullied is a large difference. So I climbed this cliff, and it was a very steep cliff. It faces the water, so it was wet from the ocean spray. I just hitchhiked down the east coast of Australia and around Tasmania, so I had no tread on my shoes. I had been drinking, as I did every day. I had amphetamines in my system, as I did every day. So if you climb a very 90-degree cliff that's wet with no tread and being drunk, I fell. Wow. I fell approximately 30 feet onto rocks, and these two guys were at the bottom.
That incident made you write this book?
Yes. Well,
bouncing back when you hit rock bottom?
Yes.
Literally?
Metaphorically and physically, yes. Yes. I wrote the book in 2010. Now, I had the accident in 1989. I wrote the book in 2010 simply because I've been speaking and sharing my story and running workshops for about 8 or 9 years. And I told my story a lot because that's important for people. And even though I just got so sick of telling the story, so sick of saying, look, see how foolish I am, see what an idiot I am, see how I can do the wrong things. Even though I felt embarrassed, people felt as though they understood that.
Yeah.
So I actually wrote the book in 2010 because, to be honest, I was sick of people asking me for a book, or have you got a book? They'd hear my story and say, have you got a book? Have you got a book? So I just went, right, I'll write your book, okay? I'll write your book. Don't ask me anymore. So I simply wrote that book thinking, that'll be the end of it. But then I wrote the book And then all of a sudden it was selling around Australia and around New Zealand, and people were contacting me, oh, your story. And I'm thinking, I can't get away from this story. I guess I'd better just accept it.
It's inspiring because nowadays, even if somebody is not falling off the cliff, they give up easily. You didn't.
Well, it's extraordinary the amount of people who have fallen off a metaphorical cliff. And they tell me about how their marriage or their business or their job or their health or something has fallen out of control. And my story resonates with a lot of people because my injuries at the base of that cliff were very severe. Would you like me to quickly share
Yes, please.
Well, I had what it's called a comminuted fracture of the skull, which means a shattering of the skull of the right occipital, which means the right rear of my skull shattered. So I had 12 plus fractures along the back of my head. As my brain began to swell, that crack went over my ear, through my cheekbone, through my nose and down through my jaw, my right eye falling in behind my nose.
No.
I dislocated my spine from my hips. I had up to 5 heart attacks. I tore my liver in half, and I bruised or tore every internal organ. So that was the situation that I was in, but the brain injury was what was to be of immediate concern to these two guys. The story's all in the book, but to go from there to hospital, the accident was down in Phillip Island, so below Melbourne. So my parents were contacted in Brisbane. My dad and my sister flew down the following day to hear some very bad news that I will never recover. And if I do survive the coma, if I do live through it, the person they know as their son is never coming back. So to go from then to a year in hospital,
devastating,
losing about 45 kilos.
45 kilos.
In the first, I think it was in the first 2.5 months. My head injury was quite severe, so I had what was called cognitive shutdown. I couldn't read, I couldn't write, I couldn't speak, couldn't understand, could not dress myself, follow instructions. In a hospital bed, just lying there, just being drugged up so that the pain didn't do me in. And we just had so many problems over the space of a year, so many operations, so many issues with me crawling out of bed and jumping on the floor after having all these operations. And after a year in hospital, or 4 different hospitals over the state of the year, it was time to go home, with my parents having the suggestion given to them that it's probably better if they put me in a home.
Like a nursing home?
Yes, because I won't get better. I won't get a job. The structural problems physically as well as mentally are too severe, and it's better if they let professional people look after me straight away. But my parents, wonderful family, said, no, he's our responsibility. We'll take him home. So I spent the next 10 years at home teaching myself how to read, how to write, how to speak, how to dress myself, doing everything as well as the things that I couldn't do before the accident, which I call before the accident BC, stands for before cliff. So things that I couldn't do BC, like talk to girls, I could never talk to girls. But I learned how to talk to girls in hospital.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and the fact was that I couldn't speak. It's so much better to talk to girls when you can't speak. They love talking to you when you can't interrupt them or can't give them stupid advice. So I did that, and over the 10 years at home, I basically taught myself how to live my life again. And so by the time that finished, I was in my early 30s.
Wow, so inspiring. So you changed your own life with the help of your parents believing in you.
My parents believing in me, the friends that remained, unfortunately most friends, it's in the too hard basket. They've got to get on with their lives, they get married, they have kids. I had a couple of friends who just stayed with me, and my determination it wasn't so much determination, it was just desire on my behalf. I want to get back to life.
Yeah.
I want to get back. I want to meet people. I want to have another go at this life that I'd ruined the first time around.
Yeah.
So that was my 10 years. That was my personal motivation. I didn't like where I was, and I was surrounded by people, for example, neurologists and professionals saying that I'll never get better, telling me that I'll never get better. And I'm relatively rebellious. I always have been.
Very nice.
So being told that I'll never get better was enough for me to think, well,
I'll show you.
Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
And when I actually wrote the book, I gave that book to one of those doctors who said I'd never get better.
Oops.
Yeah. He never got back to me. But I really enjoyed it because I went to him one day and I said, I'm teaching myself how to read. Can you locate a book for me that was written by somebody like me who's gone through it, gone through a brain injury, gone through a stroke? If I can read that book. And he looked at me, and the story's actually in the book, I think, where he looked over his little half glasses and he said, Stephen, people like you don't even know what a book is.
Oh, no.
Let alone how to write one. So
On your face?
Yeah, so I thought, right, I'm going to write a book.
Oh my gosh.
I'm going to give it to you. See what you have to say. I don't know what he had to say, but maybe it was a motivational ploy on his behalf.
Maybe
it was.
Maybe, yes.
Maybe he thought, I'm a bit rebellious.
Yeah, I like the positivity of yours.
Yes.
You know, rather than judging that the doctor was bad, no, he actually motivated you.
Well, the thing to me was that these people give me these advice. It was, they had books, they had learnings, they had a whole lot of things to support what they were saying at the time in the early 90s. As far as I was concerned, they have never had a brain injury.
Yeah.
So what do they know? If they haven't actually had a brain injury, how can they tell me what my limitations are?
Yeah.
Unless I put them on myself. So I decided to get better. And I guess maybe I did because it wasn't that I believed it as much as I just did the hard work for as long as it took. Mm-hmm. I didn't give myself a timeline. Thought I'm just going to do this until I'm better. And it took 10 years. 10
years. In 2010, when you wrote the book, did you ever think it'll go throughout Australia, New Zealand, people contacting you?
No, I thought, okay, I've written a book, but no one's really interested. No one will be really interested. But everybody's going through something in their lives, and they like to hear or read a story of someone who loses everything and gets it back because of hard work and determination, choosing the right people to have in your environment, choosing who to listen to, choosing who to believe. Everybody understands that. And maybe because my story is quite graphic and because it's got great pictures, they decided, well, I want to read it.
Yeah. No,
and that opened up a lot more doors.
I love the name. Bouncing back when you hit rock bottom.
Well, yeah.
It is because we all do. We all do. No matter what you do in life, there comes a point when you feel like, this is it. You know? And if you don't have that kind of two boys who were there with you, you will never get up. You need motivators around you.
You need people around you who'll support you, who'll lead the way, who'll reach down and take you by the hand. And even though I talk about the 10 years that I put into it, don't forget the amount of surgeons that I had, the incredible surgery and the impossible things done by amazing doctors, the wonderful and beautiful nurses who gave me so much hope and laughter every day, the therapists. I mean, I'm just a result of many wonderful people who do their job, but they do their job because they love their job and they want to be of service to people. So that greatly inspired me because I'm nothing without the people who contributed to me. So if I don't pass that on, well, I've missed the whole point of it.
Absolutely. The purpose.
Yes.
The purpose. In the 10 years of that journey while you were recovering, did you ever feel that you were a burden on people? People who love you?
Every day.
Yeah, you did?
Yes.
How did you come out of it?
For the first while, I kept on apologising because I had to get help with everything and I couldn't express what I wanted. and I couldn't express what I felt. And I felt guilty about not being able to express what I'm trying to say. How I needed help with very, very simple things like pulling up my pants. As a 21 or 22 through to 25-year-old, I still needed help with all of those things.
Yeah.
And so it got to the point where I was embarrassed by the amount of people who told me to stop apologising to them. You haven't done anything wrong. Stop apologising. And I realised that if I was asking them to help me with things that I could do, then yeah, I should apologise, because I'm either too lazy to do it or I talk myself out of it. But if I get help from people and ask for help from people because I need their assistance, then I shouldn't feel guilty.
No.
And being surrounded by the right people and knowing what you can do if you put your mind to it, but what you can't, and being willing to ask people for assistance if you actually can't do it, or you need help to it, or you need guidance, or you need to run it by somebody first before you do it. That's absolutely essential. And that's one of the things that a lot of people aren't doing because they feel guilty.
Guilty. It's okay to ask
It's
help.
okay to ask. Just don't ask people to do things for them to think, well, you could actually do this.
Yeah.
Now, I've got a lot of wonderful stories about this, but I've got to share this one if that's okay.
Absolutely.
My father is a wonderful man, and he knew that I needed to be pushed because, you see, I was surrounded by people doing everything for me. So one day when I was at home watching midday television, which is what you do when you're long-time unemployed and long-term lying down and injured and whatever, he said, Stephen, I need you to rake the leaves outside. And I said, and I was in a body cast for 4 months. So plaster from up here down to my knees. And I was about 51 kilograms, 6'1", 51 kilograms with that body cast on. And I said, what the hell? I can't rake leaves. And he said, get up. So I'd figured out how I could get out of bed. I couldn't stand up because you couldn't bend, but I figured out how to get out of bed. He said, now do this. Yeah, I can do that. He said, okay, that's raking. I'll put a rake in your hands. I'll take you outside. I'll put a big cardboard box. I want you to do that to push all the leaves in that cardboard box, and I'll throw it out. You can do that, and you're going to do that because you're not here to just lay around, do nothing.
He said that?
Yeah, and I said, oh.
Uh-oh.
Okay. So I went outside and I did that, and I just felt incredible. That's something that I did not think I could do. But if I can do that, what else can I do? I just didn't want to tell my dad that I could do other things because he would have me doing everything.
You want to see the mid...
So, no, I'm not washing and wiping the dishes. Come on. But it was somebody who encourages you to get outside your comfort zone. And it's okay. I'll set it all up for you, but you just do that and I'll do the rest. It gave me a feeling of accomplishment.
Yeah.
And that I can do something.
Like the youngsters now, everything is given to them in their hands. And that is the reason people become lazy and they do not want to take the next step when everything is given into your hands.
Well, if everything's given to you, why should you do anything?
Yeah.
So it's having someone around you that either encourages you to do something or you drive yourself of thinking, well, how's my life going to be if I cannot achieve anything? If I can't cook, if I can't clean, if I can't look after myself and I'm always relying on other people, what does that make me look like?
Yeah.
And to me, that was a large part of it. I just thought, I don't want to be at home with mum and dad forever.
Yeah.
I want to be out. I want to be having fun. Before the accident, BC, I was a lead singer in a rock band. I knew how to have fun. And I missed that. And I thought, I can't do that ever again.
No.
But I can still have fun. But I'm going to have to get myself to the point where I can go out and I can have fun and I can make better decisions than I used to make. You've got to test yourself just for your own sake if that's how you start. eventually you'll start to realise that a lot of people are looking to you. Can you help me? How did you do that? Could you help me? And that's just wonderful. As soon as you start to have people around you who say, can you teach me to do what you just did?
Yes.
All of a sudden you feel like, wow, okay, I
Yeah.
thought what I was doing was next to nothing. But if it helps you, sure.
And you have done that for more than 100,000 people, community leaders, businessmen.
As you can tell, I like to talk. So,
Absolutely.
so talking,
Make it two of us.
so speaking and running programs, I just love doing it. And I do a lot of coaching where I don't speak. And I love doing that because people explore who they are. And it helps them to overcome an obstacle, because I'm all about what's the solution. Not what's the problem,
Yeah.
what's the solution. And then it comes down to the most important thing. But are you willing to do? It's not motivation, it's not passion. They're all good, but they're emotions. It comes down to, are you willing to do it? When it hurts, when you fail. If people laugh at you, are you still willing to push it?
Yeah.
It's developing a spirit of willingness. That's what makes a good life.
Wow. Where can we find this book, Stephen, if we have to buy it?
Well, at the moment, you can only buy it from me, through my website.
Website, and your website is called?
smilingtiger.com.au.
smilingtiger.com.au.
That's right.
And how can people reach you apart from your website? Any other social media you use?
I don't. Well, what I'm doing at the moment is I'm rebranding everything, and I'm about to put all of my programs and keynotes, etc., online, so anyone can do it. The Smiling Tiger website is an old website. It still works. You can contact me through it, but when the new one comes out, which will be Smiling Tiger Group, when that new one comes out, there should be something in there that can help a lot of people.
Smiling Tiger.
Yes.
Why did you choose that name?
I grew up with my dad calling me Tiger, and I was a bit fierce. If I wanted something, I was a bit fierce in getting it.
Okay.
So the tiger was a loving term. It was also, you can be a bit of a tiger if you want something. And then one day when I came home from hospital on a weekend pass and I had my body cast on, I was standing up in the kitchen, and because I had no strength in my legs and because I was tall and skinny, I fell forward.
Okay.
And my parents like this, and I caught myself on the chair on the way down, and my parents started laughing, and I thought it was just horrific that they're laughing at me. And I couldn't speak properly, so I was just going on and just screaming at them. But they said, Steve, we're laughing because we're relieved that you didn't break anything.
Oh my God.
It's happiness.
Okay.
And my father came up to me and he said, listen here, Tiger, you've got to understand that was funny. Okay? If you learn to laugh at yourself, you'll never cease to be entertained. So I went from Tiger to Smiling Tiger.
Wow.
Fierce in going after my goals, but not taking myself so seriously, having a bit of fun.
Wow.
And that whole Smiling Tiger has developed into this whole yin and yang type thing, and this whole opposites, and it's a lot of things. And a lot of people, when they ask me what it means, I ask them what they think it means, and I hear the most incredible stories.
It is an amazing,
And I think, gee, I'm not that smart, but I'll take that one. Yeah, I'll take that
Very
definition.
good one. So if you want to get your book, go to smilingtiger.com.au and order one right now for this amazing and inspirational story. It is indeed a pleasure to have you here, Stephen. Thank you for sharing your story with us.
Thank you, Rena.
Thank you. Thank you.